Magandang hapon sa inyong lahat. Once again, nandito tayo for our bago ang lahat, mamamayan muna. Gusto kong sabihin, I'm very pleased na nandito na yung ating panauhin. Of course, una muna ang ating co-host, si Sonia M. Roco, at ang guest natin si Jojie Rago-Adia. Gusto kong sabihin din na please like and share our live video in our FB page, Corazon Alma de Leon, or you may contact me to our cell phone 0918 912-3546. Maraming salamat sa mga makikinig sa atin sa isang oras na programa na ito. Sonia, greet muna tayo sa ating mga
Opo,
nakikinig.
opo. Magandang hapon po sa lahat ng ating mga tagapakinig. Sana po kayo'y nasa magandang kalagayan kahit na merong kainitan sa labas. At saka magandang hapon sa guest natin, si Jojie Rago-Adia. Lalong-lalo na magandang hapon sa iyo, Cora. The super energetic, unstoppable, the Red Cross way, Cora de Leon. No? Oh. So, sana po ay diyan lang kayo, makinig kayo kasi tulad ko, marami natututunan lalo na sa mga guests na imbitado natin dito sa programang to. Sige, so welcome po and enjoy.
Jojie, greet ka muna para malaman ng mga tao na you went out of your way to come and join us on April 1st. Go ahead, Jojie.
Thank you po, Boss Cora de Leon. If everyone would like to know, my former boss, Miss de Leon, she was with me. I was with her. I'm sorry, with the SWD. But before anything else, I would like to say thank you for inviting me to grace this broadcast. I'm a little nervous because I just came from a side trip from my other career this afternoon, and when Miss De Leon told me through messenger that I will be guesting today, I said, oh my god, I have to go back. But thank you for inviting me here. It's been a while. I am Jojie Rago-Adia. I was a former DSWD employee with under the wings of Miss Corazon de Leon, who was my regional director at the time. And then, of course, she became the DSWD secretary. And all through my career, I have been following her, and she was my virtual mentor. You know, even though I haven't really spoken to her a lot, but she has been my model and my mentor at the time when I was going through my career steps in different settings. So I was in the SWD since I graduated in 1979 until 1983. And then in 1983, I moved to the National Kidney Institute, and I started the medical social service there, which I am so proud that even up to now, it's a highly recommended and highly established social services amongst the medical social work. And I stayed there until 1989, and then in 1990, I mean in 1989, I got married, and then I moved to the United States of America, and from there I started I continued my career as a social worker, but more on the macro social work practice, which I could further explain what I was doing at the time.
Yeah.
And now I'm back here in the Philippines as a retiree from the federal government service at, under the Department of U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, which is the equivalent department of the SWD here in the Philippines. So my mentor with Miss De Leon and my experience with the SWD really helped me my career with the federal service at that time. So thank
Galing.
you very much, ma'am, and Miss
So,
Roco for having
oo.
me here.
I'm sure magiging maraming kwentuhan ang gagawin natin. Pero itong programa na ito, sinisimulan ko sa isang paniniwala na sinulat kong in a poem, Nasaan ang Araw. Matagal ko nang inasahan ang pagsikat ng araw. Matagal ko nang inasam-asam ang paglaho ng dilim. Ngunit bakit ganito ang buhay? Bakit ganito ang damdamin? Ang puso ay nagtatanong, ang diwa ay nagtataka, nasaan ang araw? Ang araw pala ay nasa puso, ang araw pala ay nasa damdamin, kaya kung ang araw pala ay nasa puso, ang araw pala ay nasa kaluluwa ng bala na. Kung ang puso ay puno ng pagmamahal, hindi na kailangang itanong nasaan ang araw. Kung ang kaluluwa ay puno ng katotohanan, hindi na kailangang itanong pa nasaan ang araw. Sa isip, sa salita at sa gawa, nakapaloob ang araw. Kailanman ay walang kadiliman sa tuwa, katotohanan at pagmamahalan. Salamat sa poong may kapal, may kasagutan na ang tanong kung nasaan ang araw. Bukod dito ay inuulit-ulit ko din ang poem ni Rabindranath Tagore, isang Indian poet, when he wrote, "Where mind is without fear and head held high, where the world has not been broken to fragments by narrow domestic walls, where tireless strivings stretch their arms towards perfection, where the mind is led forward to thee into ever widening thought and action, into that heaven of freedom, my Father, let my country awake." Ibig sabihin, ang programa natin to ay talagang manggigising tayo sa ating bayan. Napakahalaga ang programang ito sapagkat ito ay bago ang lahat, mamamayan muna. Sonia,
Yes.
magsabi ka muna kung ano yung feeling mo about this program. Go ahead.
Ah, unang-una, dun sa una mong binasa, nasa ng araw, ayun, no, nasa likod ko.
Palaging
What a nice
magaganda ang
sunset.
nasa likod niyan.
Oo. Ah, alam mo itong programa nito, talagang ano to baby ni Cora. Kasi I think this program, the idea of this program was when she was in the ano yun sa commission, ano? Sa
Civil
Civil
service.
Service Commission, this was one of their parang slogans for service, no? Ano, bago ang lahat, mamamayan muna. So I think that inspired a lot of people and reminded a lot na people in public service ay siyempre ang iisipin yung mamamayan kasi sila talaga ang sinisilbihan natin, di ba? So pinagpatuloy niya to nung nag-online na nag-ano na. So matagal na rin, ilang taon na tayo? Ilang taon ka na, Cora, dito?
Well, kumbaga sa radyo, nung mag-retire ako 2001, I think
Wow.
ano pa tayo, ano pa tayo, DZXL pa tayo, remember,
Mm-hmm.
yung
Oo,
yung
kasama niya.
Kapitan del Barrio kasi
Oo.
naniniwala
Yes.
tayo na kailangan ang mga kapitan natin ay gawin ang kanilang tungkulin. And then of course nung ano mag ano na ako, Red Cross na ako, pinatuloy natin 'to na merong kalinga mula sa Red Cross. Kaya ngayon pinagpatuloy din natin 'pag Linggo. And kami naman ni Sonia, dalawang programa bale 'pag Tuesday and of course 'pag Saturday, yung Tuesday mental health, I'm sure kay Jojie alam na rin niya yun. And then yung 'pag Saturday, yung mga noteworthy causes, dinadala din namin dito para maunawaan ng mga tao na merong mga pangyayaring hindi mapipigilan na mangyayari sa buhay nila, pero meron din pagkakataon na dapat maisipin nila magagawa natin lahat ng bagay kung di tayo nag-iisa. So,
Ayun.
simulan na natin, Jojie, yung pagkukwento mo, anong mga naging challenges sa'yo? Kasi, number one, sasabihin ng ibang tao, pag social worker, hindi nakakapag-asawa. Hindi totoo yun. Si Jojie, nakapag-asawa, successful siya. Nag-migrate, pero nakabalik. Go ahead, Jojie. Tell us your story.
Sure. Thank you po, Miss De Leon. As I was saying a while ago, so way back in 1970s, I was here in the Philippines as a social worker. And of course, we know how it is. When you're a social worker, you're dedicated to your job. And sometimes we have this this joke, we're married to our profession, which is true because we have been serving our countrymen selflessly. At the time I remember my first salary, and I keep telling this to my kids. I said, you know what? My first salary when I was a social worker in the Philippines was only 600 pesos per month, which is equivalent to the minimum wage here now in the Philippines.
Yeah.
So, and my daughter, who is also a social worker, by the way, who is a clinical social worker, always cannot believe the stories that I have been telling her as a social worker, as a striving social worker at the time, including, how much I was being paid, how I survived, and how I, became successful. True to it, I believe I've been successful, even though I had so many challenges, both in my personal and in my career. But I always think that, when you give, you always receive a lot of blessing, and it's very true because even up to now, I have been receiving a lot of blessing because I think I have given so much enough of myself. I learned from social work that to be a social worker, you have to give yourself. The best thing that you could offer to your clients or to your people that you serve is yourself. Meaning, you have to be truthful, you have to be transparent, you have to be really loving what you're doing. And that's what I did all my career life. Even when I came here in the when I went to work with the federal service in the Department of Health and Human Services. I was actually just the only social worker among our team, even though I'm under the Department of Health and Social Services. So, but I always share what a social worker would be. So by being passionate about what I'm doing, really caring about the work that I'm doing with our clients. I don't see a lot of my clients because I'm doing macro social work. For those who are not social worker, who's listening now, macro social work are those who are doing policy development, program, and then fund development. Like my main work when I was at the federal with the energy assistance is I um, I was assigned to 75 grantees, which are tribes, territories, and states. And what we do is we issue out a lot of funding to these states so they can provide assistance to those who are what we call low income. So it's called the Low Income Heating Assistance Program in the United States. So I find so much fulfillment from those work that I did by being able to help the states, the tribes, and the territories. And I'll be honest with you that again, it's not that I'm bragging this, but I really have Miss De Leon at my back. Every time I do something, I always recall what she was teaching us when we were young social worker in the SWD. So I have been carrying all those principles, those standards and techniques that she told me, and I was able to weed out all the challenges of being a Filipino American social worker in the midst of other Native America. I was the only Filipino social worker in our department. But again, I was so proud that I have a very good background as a social worker. And when I retired, my supervisors reminded me, I know, Jojie, that you're a social worker and you will always be forever a social worker. So I said, I want to be rich. So maybe I can go to another career. But believe me, I think I can't leave social work, even though I'm doing some side jobs. Like right now I'm real estate. I'm trying my feet getting wet into the real estate industry. But one of the things that I have been feeling is sometimes I feel guilty um, making profit or getting money from other people by allowing them to buy the properties that I'm selling, because all throughout my life I was the one who's giving assistance, giving the money. So it's so easy for me to just give the help that other people need. But when it comes to myself, it's so hard to really like receive something from other people. So selling is very, very difficult for me at this time. So I'm trying to do some kind of change of my mindset. But I don't know. I'm still in that period where my career is still whether I'm still on the decision making process, whether I would move to another career or I will stay as a social worker. Because all throughout my life, I have been a social worker.
Yeah.
So, yes.
I think the area of marketing, no, parang
Mm-hmm.
you moved very quickly in that arena because you know how to be able to convince people, and really when you market the product, whether it's land or housing, you're giving them a lift in their life, di ba? Kaya sabi
That's
ko,
right.
bagay na bagay din na makatulong ka sa ating mga kababayan na maaring OFW na paano sila bumuti ang kanilang kabuhayan. Sonia, your reaction kay
Oo, ang
Jojie?
galing
That's
ng ano,
right.
ang galing ng career path niya na ngayon na parang gusto niya magbago, nahirapan siya. But I think ano, yeah. But I think ano parang you do what you want, 'di ba? You are very comfortable, experienced in being a social worker. And I don't know how much you need the income from real estate, but I think if your heart is really in social work, I mean, there's so much need for social workers in our country because a lot of our people need the the care, no? Kasi there are social workers and social workers, but I
Mm.
think the real social worker is the one that has a heart, the one that can go beyond the call of just doing the job. And I think you got such experience working with the federal, and so now coming back here. So I don't know. Siguro Cora, you and you and Jojie can do some Red
Yeah.
Cross work together.
Correct ka dyan
Definitely
eh.
po. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Correct
Totoo
ka
po
diyan
yun.
kasi nakita ko maraming social workers talaga ang ended up, 'pag retire nila, they went abroad, nasa Canada, nasa US, hindi nila ginawang they lived in the Philippines to do their work as social workers, pero ang liberation nila to enjoy life was to go to travel abroad, and
Oh,
I appreciated that. Pero sabi ko nga sa kanila, no matter how much you love the country where you are now, eventually you'll realize that home is still home, and I encourage them to enjoy the best that they can be in their wherever whatever state they're in or country, and then when they come home, feel feel the what they can contribute pa in the Philippines. Yun lang ang palagi kong nire-remind. Huwag kalimutan yung ating bayan. In fact, in a meeting, Sonia, ng JICA, where I'm a member of the
oh,
special committee, nakwento ko sa'yo, sabi ko, you know, after the war, Philippines was second to Japan as the most developed country. Pero bakit tayo naghirap? Kasi ang mga
Mm-hmm.
leaders natin ay hindi ginanap ang kalantugulin, nagkaroon ng corruption, at saka yung mga pamilya masyadong dumami. Kasi palagi kong kinukwento, 52 million lang when I was Secretary of DSWD. Ngayon, Jojie, 110 million
Mm.
ang Pilipino. Kaya
Wow.
talagang madami. But
it's
hindi ko naman
growing.
bine-blame yung mga pamilya, pero nakikita natin nagiging factor yon for underdevelopment. Talagang nagiging problema natin. Ano. So, Jojie, anong nakita mong challenge pa? Because now, you're in marketing because you're in, I think, real estate. And nakita mo
Opo.
na ang mga taong bumuti ang kanilang katayuan, ang unang iniisip improving their lives. At kasama na dito, kotse, bahay, etc. Diba? So,
Opo.
tamang-tama yung field mo. Kasi nakaka-motivate ka how people can improve their lives. 'Di ba? So
Totoo
anong
po yun.
oo, pero ang mga Pilipino din parang ang tawag din natin, ewan ko Bisayan ba yun, Sonia, oras bugas. Yung parang
Oh,
kapag may pera ngayon, uubusin ng pera, walang savings for
Mm,
the future. They don't think of a future na tas iisipin nila ano yung gagawin nila para sa kabuhayan na bumuti, 'di ba? Ano yung
tama,
naging
opo.
karanasan mo, Jojie? Oo, go ahead.
O tama po 'yun. I think, importante din po yung like me, alam nyo, being a career person as well as a family person. So, nung po nagtatrabaho ako when I was working at the time because it's so hard to be a one income earner sa family sa US. So, I had to help. One of the challenges na nakita ko ho noon is how to what do you call it, how to raise your family without jeopardizing the future of your children by being not a full-time mother. So there was a time po nung dumating ako doon in 1989. So medyo hindi ako nagtrabaho for 2 years. So I took care of my son who is now by the way 34 years old and bumalik na din dito sa Pilipinas, but I will tell you the story why later on. Nung time pong yon, so I was in a dilemma. Should I work? Kasi nagtatrabaho naman po yung husband ko. He was earning so well. In fact, pagdating namin doon, may bahay na siya. He really provided us. So I was thinking, kailangan ko ba magtrabaho? Kasi sabi ko, kaya naman namin. But then I said, parang mahirap din naman that I will be not working because I have, I have when I left the department manager of the National Kidney Institute. So, and I was well at the time as well. So I thought that, I don't need to go to America, but, and, um, earn money. So my primary mission at the time was to join my husband and just be with him and raise the family. But then when I realized that it's too hard to just be an one income family home, I decided to work. And,
Work.
isa ho sa dahilan yung kung ba't ako bumalik because we really need to income because the mortgage is so high. The daycare is also very expensive. And I have to navigate that kind of role like, okay, will I sacrifice my children's welfare if I work? So what we did was my husband worked
nagiging choppy ba?
Oo,
we did not
ano,
have
ayan, okey na.
hello we
Yeah,
did
go
not
ahead.
have hello ma'am.
Sige,
Yeah, choppy.
I can hear you. Choppy lang, choppy ng konti. Go ahead.
Sana technological glitch yan.
Try mo, ibalik mo.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, okey na. Go ahead, yung kwento mo.
Are we good now? Okay.
Yes.
So, yes. So, yun po ang number one reason kung ba't ako bumalik sa trabaho is because I have to help my husband. As I've said, kahit kung maganda na yung kanyang income. But then, ang education po ng mga bata doon is so expensive. In fact, one of the issues that we had while my children were, especially when they were in college, it's so expensive. Unlike here, na mura ho ang ating tuition. So that's one thing
Yes.
that I found out. So, we have to make a lot of sacrifices so that we can bring our kids and get their education. It's very culturally po kasi ang Filipino Americans, alam natin na we value education, right? So we give all our effort to bring our children to give them a better education. Unlike po sa mainstream ng Amerika, I'm not saying everyone, pero ang kultura po ng ng Amerika is once you are 18 years old, you can leave the house.
Yes.
And
Yes.
you are an adult, and being an adult, you will be responsible on your own. But pero including educating yourself. So kami po as ang thinking po namin mag-asawa, well, pinalaki tayo ng parents natin. They gave us good education. So, kailangan ibalik natin sa mga anak natin yon, regardless of how difficult and challenging it is. And so, we made sacrifices. So, for instance, ang mga sacrifices pong ginawa namin, yung nagtitipid kami, hindi kami masyadong lumalabas, we set aside some savings, meron po silang mga educational insurance, we prepare for those kind of things. So, yun po yung time na yun na yun ang aming attention is towards our kids, how we will raise them in spite of the fact that they're around the culture that is so different from the Filipino Americans. Another thing ho is, we tried by helping them, our kids, to embrace both the Filipino and the American culture by not being so strict. No, ang isang example, if my children said,
Yeah.
"Mom, I want to be this. I want to have this kind of career." Yeah, we discuss it. I don't demand that
Yeah.
they do something like most of the Filipinos would say, "Oh, I want you to be a nurse." No. And, you know, very helpful po yun kasi at this point, my children are very grateful for us kasi sabi nila, Mom, you're one of the few parents who told us, who did not demand that we become lawyers, we become doctors, we become something else that we don't like. So it's a win-win story here. Ang isang malaki yung natutunan ko when I was a parent as uh, taking care of children is yun nga po na hindi ko sila masyadong nilayo sa Filipino culture. Like I teach them what a Filipino culture is, but also gave them the freedom to choose whatever that will make them become
Kari
a very successful adult. So, isa ho yun sa natutunan ko and I really tried my best. And again, I owe that from my social work experience na sabi ko, I learned this from my social work experience or education that I shouldn't demand or make my children, what do you call this, hindi naman sa kanila yung hindi ko masyado in-insist yung alam kong dapat na
Mm.
I gave them the freedom to choose so that they can be better adults and it paid off. Yun
How
po ang
many
isang
children? How many
opo.
children do you have?
I have two children. One
Oh.
is now 34 years old and the second one is 30 years old. My son was US Army
Uh-huh.
under the American military, but now he retired early, and now he's back here in the Philippines and taking
Galing.
a 4-year course. But he loved the Philippines. I don't know what was into his mind that he decided that he want to stay here, even though he was raised in America. Now
Ah, galing.
my second child is my daughter, Pauline Jo. She's a social worker as well. And I was so thrilled when she decided to be a social worker. And now she's clinical social worker. She's a very progressive mental health social worker. And, she loves what she's doing. And sometimes I will be listening to what she's doing online, like doing counseling. She's unbelievable. Like I told her, I can't do what you're doing because it's so hard to be a clinical social worker in America. It's very specialized, and you really have to understand those clients that you are working with. And she has that stamina, she has that strength, and her mental well-being is very very good that she's able to help other people.
Yeah.
And it's unbelievable. Like she would counsel doctors, lawyers, federal employees who are having, issues in their work, and professionals who are beyond her. You know what I'm saying? But so
Yes.
it's a manifestation that she really knows what she's doing and she really loves it. And the two of us are actually planning to do some things together here in the Philippines because I keep telling her, my heart is also in the Philippines. That's why I'm going back. So I went back here a year ago. I retired in March 2022. And now I'm here in the Philippines, doing some other things. But I think I might go back to social work because that's where my heart is. We talked about a while ago about, in order for you to stay or retire here in the Philippines, at least you should have something that you could use as a resource. Tama po yun. Kasi mahirap pong mag-retire. Kahit po dito sa Pilipinas na they told us that it's very, very cheap to retire here. But you have to have money. Kasi ho,
Yes.
you know, like if you would like to, nung bago ako mag-retire, my goal was, okay, sabi ko, I will retire because I'm tired working. Since 18 years old ho, kasi I was already working. And social work is really like draining. Alam niyo po yun, di ba? Emotionally and financially draining, di ba? So sabi ko, I would like to experience getting rich and maybe I can do something other than social work. Pero bumabalik pa rin ho kasi yung ano ko yung attention ko sa social work. I don't know why. Pero sabi ko siguro dahil eto na yung training ko. Para sabi ko nga ho, I want to travel as well. But how can I travel if I don't have savings? So, isa ho yan sa lessons namin. If we, being a film, we were taught to really save for our future. So, meron po kaming mga tinatawag na mga insurances. So, we made sure na we were enrolled in insurances. So, yung mga okay, tinatawag po natin last minute. Po,
Yes.
isa yan sa, sorry, I should have not mentioned the name, but yung pong mga funeral benefits, yung mga ganun, those are some of the things that you would plan. And of course, yung pong mga day-to-day expenses natin, housing, yung ating basic needs, you have to make sure that you have those. And especially po, itong number one challenge na nakikita ko, yung medical. Yan po ang pinakamalaking
Mm.
problema natin dito sa Pilipinas. When you are a retiree,
Yes.
you don't have health insurance. I don't know, but I can see a lot of those challenges even with my relatives, with some of my friends. That's why continued pa rin po yung ginagawa kong referrals.
Mm.
Connection sa mga hospitals because I was a medical social worker at the time. So yung po mga kaibigan kong nasa medical social work,
Nakaka-connect ka sa kanila. Katulad din natin, Sonia, hindi tayo nakakalimot,
tawagan,
may
pwede
mga
ko tulungan. So
kamag-anak.
lucky po kami as a family.
Yeah. Sonia, basahin
Opo.
muna natin ang mga nag-write.
Yan po,
Meron ng
Yes, go ahead, Jojie.
Opo. Yung pong
Go ahead.
kayo, mag-enroll na kayo sa mga ganun, sa medical insurance kasi kailangan ninyo pagtanda.
Yes.
Oo.
Yun ang panawagan ni Jojie. Sonia, read muna yung mga nanonood, nakikinig sa
tayong
atin.
mga comments galing sa mga tagapakinig natin. Si Melissa Tabuak Tongol, magandang hapon po. Hi Melissa. Edlin Nangcha, of course, good afternoon. Si Jinky Bueno Ilot, mapagpalang araw po, Ma'am Sonia, Ma'am Cora, Ma'am Sonia and guest. Nene Austria, good PM. Maybell Roa, good afternoon, Ma'am Cora, Ma'am Sonia and guest. Miss Jojie Rago-Adia. Thanks for the nuggets of wisdom on life as a social worker and parenting from Miss Jojie. God bless po.
At bukod
Salamat
dito,
po.
nagsabi din na nanonood sila si Margarita Reyes from Civil Service, si Violi Campo from the Philippine Red Cross, Marianne Fernandez, of course, retired sa Civil Service, si Ditas de Silva, kaibigan namin to ni Sonia, and si Leonida Bayani Ortiz, taga Philippine Red Cross. Maraming salamat sa inyo sa
Oo.
panonood sa ating programa.
Meron
Continue
pa
na
isa,
tayo.
dumating na. Cora, sandali.
Yes,
Meron pa isa si Margarita. Happy
yes.
listening here. Oo.
Yes, yes. Thank you, thank you. Makita mo,
Thank you
Jojie,
po.
awa ng Diyos, marami na nanonood, nakikinig sa atin. And I'm sure, yung mga sabi nga ni Mabel, yung mga nuggets sa wisdom mo, parang tatama sa kanilang puso. Di ba? Mahalaga ito.
Marami pong
So,
salamat.
So ano pa yung challenge? Kasi siyempre nakita mo na, no? Pero you're already in that phase na moving on to a new area of interest. And I think that has to be marketing and trying to improve the lives of people. Kasi
Mhm.
ang mga Pilipino, eh, pi- feeling ko kailangan nila talagang malaman pa about medical insurance para magkaroon
Mhm.
sila ng protection, 'di ba?
Opo.
Kulang pa rin eh. I think and I think you can tell us how you're able to do it now. Ano yung babalik ka pa sa Amerika or just vacation? Ano yung plano mo ngayon, Georgie?
Oho. Thank you po, ma'am. So, ang plano ko po is to really settle here. Pero, of course, since ang anak ko po at saka may bahay pa rin kami sa US, yung pong anak ko is, she really wanted to just stay in the US kasi yun po ang kanyang training. So, by ano po, by default, we have to go back kasi nandun po
Yeah.
siya. Especially if she raised her family there, we have to support her as well. Sabi nga ho natin, as a parent, walang katapusan ng pagtulong natin sa mga anak kahit sila yung magkaroon ng pamilya. Lagi pa rin ho tayong nandun as a guide and support to them. Not necessarily, kung may pera tayo, alam nyo naman pata Pilipino, all the way tayo sa mga anak natin. So, ang main challenge ho namin ngayon because we're getting old, sabi ko nga yung mobility po, ang hirap. Pero sanay ho kasi ako magbiyahe. Nung I was working in the federal, I have been assigned to visit a lot of my grantees. So, nalibot ko na po yung buong Amerika, which I'm so glad and grateful na binigyan ako ng chance na ganun. So, I was able to see all facets of statehood, tribal, and territorial life, as well as family. So, I had a good glimpse of how the impoverished, the minorities are being treated. So, alam nyo, malakas ang racism sa Amerika, di po ba? Pero, ang isang malaking challenge natin bilang Filipino-American. So, we are not immune to racism. And if you have been watching the news, nung panahon po ng COVID, there was so much issue about Filipino-Americans being hurt. Ang lakas po ng anti-immigrant. So
Asian.
yan ang
Oo.
number one, o lalo na sa Asian. Kasi po ang Asian is considered the model minority. Myth, yan po ay malaking myth. Alam natin yon kasi hindi
Oo.
naman po lahat ng
Oo.
Asians is successful, di po ba? So, ang tendency po ng ibang lahi ay apihin tayo, yung saktan. Kasi tayo po yung tawag doon, nakakaangat. Kasi well-educated po tayo eh. Tapos, magaganda po yung trabaho natin. As we know, di ba? Marami tayong doctors, marami tayong nurses, marami tayong engineers. At saka marami sa atin, I would be honest na marami talagang matsatsaga at matatalino
Yes.
talaga. Yung work ethic ko natin is number one, I would say, so, marami pong naniniwala sa mga Filipinos na yung work ethic natin is very good. Kaya tayo, well-known tayo internationally when it comes to work ethic. Pero ang challenge ho natin is because we are a minority, so kinaiinggitan ho tayo, so sinasaktan tayo. So isang malaking advice ko lang ho pagka ganon, I would suggest na yung mga nagta-travel abroad at saka yung gustong mag-stay sa abroad, don't lose or don't disconnect yourself from the community. Because ang or any community na meron po mga Pilipino, yan po ang magiging support natin. Pag nandun tayo, don't isolate yourselves. Kasi pag in-isolate po natin yung sarili natin, yan ang malaking problema. Marami tayong cases na ganyan na nagiging victim of racism, na-isolate sila, so, dinidiscriminate sila, so wala ho silang support, and meron pa nga pong mga situation na talagang malaking violence po yung ginagawa sa kanila, mga human trafficking, yung mga ganon. So, ano pa po ba yung mga challenges na nakikita natin as an immigrant?
Oo.
Marami
I guess,
pong iba pang,
oo.
Sige po.
Yes. Hindi, I guess nakita mo yung kakulangan ng opportunities. Kaya yung ating mga kababayan, mas madaling isipin, ay magtatrabaho na lang ako abroad. Ito yung tinatawag nating OFW. Hindi naman to
Opo.
yung katulad mo ng talagang professional ka, nakarating ka doon, nagtrabaho ka, maayos ang iyong buhay. At nakita ko na yung may pananaw ka sa kinabukasan, 'di ba? At ginagawa mo ngayon 'to. Kaya I am so pleased, of course, to met up with you, and I think makatutulong ka pa sa mga social workers na humaharap sa mga pagsubok. Nakabalik na si Sonia for a while, na siya, nawala siya sa
Nawala.
eksena. Sonia, narinig mo na yung mga sinabi ni Jojie. Anong comment mo? Go ahead.
Choppy choppy.
Pero narinig ka na namin
Hindi ko
ngayon. Go ahead.
nakita nawala ako.
Ah,
Nawala ako ewan ko, siguro kung sa akin o sa atin o ewan ko. Pero
Hindi, ngayon
nahirap.
maliwanag ka na. Maliwanag ka na. Go ahead.
Hindi, natuwa ako doon sa kwento ng yung anak niya na mahirap pala yung medical social worker. Ngayon ko lang nadinig may medical social worker pala. Pero sa Amerika yata, that's in demand. No? Meron yata
very
tayong
much.
interview noon, di ba, Cora, na
Yes.
guest natin, she became the social worker yata of a state. Was it
Yes.
Mississippi or Massachusetts? Sa Massachusetts yata She was the one in charge. Ganon. So, nakikita ko rin na although marami na kami narinig, although many Filipinos earn well abroad, I think they choose to retire, to come back here and retire, like you, Jojie. No? It's still better to be back in your homeland and go slow, because the developed countries, they go fast. It's a rat race. So when you have saved enough money, and I think that's one learning I got from you, na really we have to change our mindset about spending. No, as we spend, we must also save. Diba? Ang Pilipino nga, ang sabi mo doon,
Oras
bigas
bigas.
yun,
Oras
bigas.
Iba parang, oo. Kahit walang matira. Walang matira. Oo. Hindi, pero nakita ko din naman nagbabago, no? Yung mga tao. First of all, naintindihan ko din yung mga young executives, ang unang iniisip nila, makakotse, makabahay, family-oriented talaga, no? And of course, send their children to the best schools. Yan ang parang nakikita ko na sa mga moving up na mga young executives, yun ang tinitingnan nila. How can I send my children to school? Kasi ang emphasis talaga ng mga Pilipino, education. And I think you've proven it. Na nasa Amerika ka, nakita mo din ang difference ng education education ng ano ba tawag dito? Sa Amerika, di ba?
Opo.
Oo.
Maganda po ang education talaga din sa US, pero yun nga po, very expensive. Kaya if you're planning to have your children educated, marami naman pong resources dyan. Like, meron pong mga federal loans, meron pong mga federal scholarship. And marami po sa ating mga Filipinos matatalino, so they are able to get those kind of opportunity. Pero meron din po tayong mga Filipino na naiiwanan behind, na lalo na po yung mga second wave of immigrants na pumunta po doon as family sponsor, tapos hindi ho sila ready for tawag dito dun sa cultural shock nila. Actually, noon po, nagbibigay ako ng mga lecture tungkol sa how to be to acculture yourself among in the mainstream. Kasi po marami na tayong mga Filipino na nagkakaroon na ng problema. Nagkakaroon, because they need to work like 16 hours para lang
Yeah.
ma-raise nila
3 jobs
yung
sometimes.
3 jobs. So
Oo.
napapabayaan po yung mga anak. So
Mm.
kuminsan nagiging drug addicts. Tapos yung po mga teen pregnancy. So nakikita po din natin yung mga ganyang klase ng problema. Nagkakaroon po ng family breakup. So, ang yan po ang isang challenges na nakikita natin sa mga communities natin. So, kami po na mga social worker, nagsasama-sama din po kami, nagtutulong-tulong kami para din po makatulong sa mga ganyang klase na sitwasyon. So, we volunteer aside from what we're doing as our professional job, we volunteer in the community din po. Ako, mahilig ako mag-volunteer for some reason. Marami na po ako natulungang mga non-profit organizations. They establish their non-profit. Ako po yung tumutulong sa kanila. So they can help our communities. Tapos po yun nga na, ano pa ba yung isa pa hong challenges natin? Yung mga families na nagkakaroon nga ho ng problema. Ito po pala. So bilang immigrant po, what I would suggest is, yun nga, kanina po binabanggit ko na don't isolate yourself but make sure that you know where the resources are. Kasi ito po yung pinakang malaking tulong sa akin nung I felt so isolated. Kasi po nung ang tirahan po namin, yung binili pong tirahan ng husband ko, nasa suburban area. So tuwing tatanaw po ako sa bintana, wala akong makitang kapitbahay. Sanay po ako na ang laki-laki ng pamilya ko. I came from a big family, like 10 of us, right? Tapos ako po yung nasa gitna. So I'm surrounded with family. Pagdating ko po doon, wala akong kakilala, wala akong kapitbahay, wala akong makakwentuhan. So I spent so much on my long distance just to talk to my parents, to talk to my sisters, para lang po may makausap ako. Tapos gusto ko na po magtrabaho. This is one thing that I found out. Sabi ko, if I want to work as a social worker, what do I do? Ang ginawa ko I searched the National Association of Social Worker website. At that time po, wala pa website telephone pa lang po. Tapos, sorry po, sinerge ko kung sino yung pinakamalapit na chapter. Then I became a member. Through that, madami po ako nakuhan link na pwede ako mag-apply. So that's how I started. Ang ano po doon, don't lose yourself by, getting so depressed on your situation. But, sandali lang po.
Sige, minom ka muna. So, anyway, konti na lang ang time natin, ano? We have about 10 minutes. Siguro, ano yung nakita mong gagawin mo pa dito para lalong higit na makatulong ka? Hindi lang sa mga social workers, pero sa bayan natin, Jojie.
Tama po. I think through my through my social work. Opo. Through my social work background, I'm still helping my colleagues. In fact, I'm getting connected with my peers, yung dati kong mga ka-teacher. Sabi ko, siguro I can share my experiences with the new students and do consulting if needed. Doon po sa real estate, I think what I could do is helping the home buyers become more aware of what are expected out of them, how they will be able to get the best homes that they dream of, because it's a big investment. Alam niyo po yun. Napakalaki yun. So being a salesperson, siguro po dapat ako, I meant to be, I want to be a very transparent salesperson. Yung trustworthy, mapapagkatiwalaan nila. And then on the side po, siguro po pwede ako tumulong sa mga how to improve the policy. Alam niyo po yun. So on that side. So sa ngayon hindi ko pa po naisip, pero
kasi totoo yan maraming housing na dapat supposedly for the poor, pero nagkakaroon ng disconnect dahil hindi natatapos bayaran, nagiging empty, tinitirahan ng kung sino-sino. Well, time is gold, konti na lang ating panahon, pero siguro ano na natin, kasi 5:50, we have 5 minutes. So, Sonia, bigay mo na yung parting words at kay Jojie din. Go ahead, Sonia. Parting words na. Wala kang audio? Go ahead. Ikaw muna, Jojie. At hindi
Opo,
para
hindi.
makasalita si Sonia. Go ahead, Jojie. Parting shots
Oh,
na.
sige po. Thank you very
Oo,
much po sa lahat ng mga
ako
listeners
muna dahil
natin.
umiikot-ikot
Sige
Sige,
po.
at saka
oo.
parang
Mawawala ng
choppy, no?
connection si Sonia. Go
Nagcha-choppy-choppy.
ahead, Sonia. Ikaw muna.
O, baka bigla ako mawala. Bago po ako biglang mawala, nagpapaalam na ako pero nagpapasalamat din ako.
Nawala na nga. Nawala na, Jojie.
Sige po. Sige po.
Ayan.
So, gusto ko lang po magpasalamat din sa inyong lahat, lalo na po kay Miss De Leon, kay Miss Roco for inviting me here and, para makapag-share din po ako ng konti kung ano yung experience ko being a social worker abroad and now I'm back here. So, hopefully makatulong pa po ako. So, pwede naman po ninyo akong kontakin if you need me because,
Yes.
I think I can help a
Definitely.
lot. Marami pong salamat.
Mula kay Nene Austria, sabi niya, helping the needy must be from our heart. It gives us a happiness knowing we lift an individual socially or mentally. At para sa inyong dalawa, of course, ni Sonia, ay yung poem na Unless Someone Cares. I don't think our communities will ever be clean and green unless someone cares. I don't believe our government will be good, just and honest unless someone cares. I don't expect our leaders to be morally upright and politically sensitive unless someone cares. I don't expect a better life for our poor and oppressed people unless someone cares. I don't have the faith that we face a brighter future unless someone cares. I don't feel we will ever realize our dreams and aspirations unless someone cares. I don't know if we will all live our sense of purpose to build a better world unless someone cares. That someone is us, that someone is you and me, that someone is everybody, for we all must care. And this afternoon, that someone has been our co-host Sonia Roco, and of course our guest Jojie Rago-Adia. And for those who listened and captured the sense of this conversation, prayer for the nation po natin ang iiwan natin. Lord, let me be the change I want to see, to do with strength and wisdom all that needs to be done and become the hope that I can be. Set me free from my fears and hesitations. Grant me the courage and humility. Fill me with spirit to face the challenge and start the change I long to see. Even if I'm not the light, I can be the spark in faith, service, and communion. Let us start the change we want to see, the change that begins in me. I'm very sure na yung changes na ginagawa mo, Jojie, ay makatutulong sa marami nating social workers, marami nating kababayan. Nakabalik si Sonia at gusto ko din sabihin na napakahalaga itong programang ginagawa natin sa paniniwala ko na um, magagawa natin lahat ng bagay kung di tayo nag-iisa. And this afternoon,
Tama.
we just show that. We have 1 minute pa, Sonia, makakabalik ka. 1 minute. Go ahead.
Oo. Una, binabati ko si Franklin, nakapasok si Lorenzo. Hi, Lorenzo.
Yes.
Salamat po. Nagpapaalam ako kanina tapos wala, naputol pero nakabalik ako. So, bago po ang lahat ay mamamayan muna.
Yes.
Magpapasalamat po ako sa inyong pagkikinig at salamat sa iyo, Jojie at Cora at sana kita-kits. Pag hindi na ho tayo magkita this week, Happy Easter po sa lahat.
Yes, yes. Thank you, Frankly. At buti nakapanood ka. Huwag kang mawawala sa mga darating na programa pa natin. Maraming salamat. It is now 5:55 exactly on the dot. tapos na yung ating
Wow.
programa.
Thank you
Mamamayan
po.
muna. Thank you.
Mamamayan muna.
Salamat. God
Thank you.
bless.
Thank you.
Thank you po.